Ricardo Silva found himself running again. He thought to himself as he ran, "How did I get here? I should have heard Masselroy coming before he ever got close." He looked over at Siska as the bullets whizzed by their heads and ricocheted through the cave.
When we get to the waterfall, we dive into the lagoon and swim for it.
I'll race you there.
Ricardo shook his head and moved to catch up as more bullets ricocheted behind him. It sure was lucky that Mr. Masselroy's goons seemed to be having fun with the hunt, rather than trying to make quick work of the pair. Charlie the Cheesehead was his name, and sealing the deal was his game. Charlie the Cheesehead hailed from Wisconsin. He was a ginger, well-muscled and well-trained. Mr. Masselroy insisted that the girl not be harmed. This made Charlie's job much more difficult. Charlie wasn't sure why he was even on this chase. The people he was chasing had already done all the treasure hunting work. Masselroy was greedy, he thought to himself. All of this trouble because the boss is keen on some skirt he saw at a party. Charlie spit on the ground. A stream was in view. The tracks of their targets had vanished. Ricardo Silva, Silver Stacker Extraordinaire, pops out of the water quietly. He and Siska Tua are standing in an underground stream crouched in a crevice within the cave wall. Ricardo makes a hand gesture to Siska towards the opening ahead, which had a large waterfall with a lagoon. They had lost Masselroy's goons when they dove into the water. Luckily, Siska already knew the shortcut she had discovered in their previous encounter at the stream a few hours earlier. It seemed like a lifetime ago at this point to Ricardo.
I'll distract them while you get away. I'll meet you at our room in the village.
Deal.
As a bullet passed just by Ricardo's head, nicking his hat, Ricardo dove into the water after screaming.
Run, Siska!
Charles chastised the new hire they called Grunt. He'd just started under Masselroy's employ after the gentleman who was in charge of guarding the office at the mansion was let go. Once, surveillance video showed an unknown person of colour had gone in the room and taken photos of the map. Well, it was lucky Charlie was so thorough with his work. A lesser director of security would have missed it. The guard was let go in a way that made sure no one would ever know any secrets he knew. The man they called Grunt was of Venezuelan descent. He was short and stocky, well-muscled, with one eye that bulged a bit more than the other on his wide face. He had a sharp angular nose and several scars on his lips and eyebrows. Charlie could tell that Mr. Grunt was a man who knew violence and relished it.
You were told, Mr. Quintero.
Call me Grunt.
You were told no harm to the woman, yet you fired blindly down the cave, nearly hitting her.
Did I hit her?
Fine, you find the one we can take care of. I'll follow the girl.
Grunt grunted and went about the business of hunting down Ricardo. Ricardo pops up out of the water, breathing heavily. He had just doubled back through the underwater tunnel Siska had discovered earlier. He made sure he was as loud as possible so his pursuers would maybe stop their pursuit of Siska. Little did Ricardo know that Siska was the primary target.
Grunt heard Ricardo's loud splashing and breathing and began to pursue.
Ricardo knew exactly where to go. He ran back up the cave and turned right at the split in the cave. He continued as fast as he could, pausing only to listen to make sure his pursuer was still coming. Ricardo then used his wet feet to paint a specific pattern on the cave floor, making it appear as closely as possible that he had stepped right on the pressure plate in the floor. Grunt Quintero heard his quarry breathing. He knew he now had him. The legendary Silver Stacker Extraordinaire was about to finally get his due. How dare he think he could play around with Mr. Masselroy? He was about to get exactly what he deserved, and Rodrigo Quintero had never let a man get away from him his entire life. Not even his own brother, when the fool turned against the ruling regime and decided to be a resistance fighter. His brother Miguel brought in the same bounty as all the rest on the government watch list. He was even easier to lure in as well.
Grunt followed his prey's wet footsteps. Did Ricardo really not know how easy it is to track him? Grunt thought to himself after watching the wet footprints on the cave floor. He sure didn't do his cardio well. You'd think with that young vixen he had with him, he'd be in better shape. Grunt then thought of the possibilities once that rich bastard Masselroy got done with the girl. Maybe he could have her.
Grunt sprinted with his Bowie knife drawn. He liked to see their eyes when he stabbed them in the liver and hear their grunts. S4. Media group. Person hiding around a corner. Man peeking around a bend. Someone listening intently in a dense forest at its stock at a distribute _ equally. I can hear you just around the bend. Charlie had sprinted after Siska once he knew where she was. Mr. Masselroy would be very unforgiving if he, Charles Brian McLaughlin, didn't bring him the prize that McElroy so clearly coveted.
Come on, I can't lose her now.
Charlie was a well-muscled ginger man with short-cut sides and a fiery tuft atop his head of baby-fine hair, his freckles glistening in the sunlight from the upcoming cave. He doubled his efforts to get to Siskar, who was just ahead.
No!
He screamed when he saw what was transpiring. He reached to stop it, but it was too late. Gravity, that cruel mistress, was in full control. Siskar hit the lagoon, hoping it was deep enough. Charlie the Cheesehead did not pursue. He was loyal, but not stupid. McElroy would have to find a different tart to keep his interest. Siskar could feel the breath of someone behind her just as she dove from the cave at the top of the waterfall. She had always loved cliff diving from the time she was a young girl in Bali. Atu Beach, Nusa Penida was always her favorite. Not because it was better than Dream Beach, Nusa Lembongan, but because her father preferred the barbecue pits there and was more likely to join in the fun. It was then that Ricardo Silva saw his pursuer up close, eye to eye. He had hopes that the firearm had gotten too wet to fire. He was a bit surprised to see the heavily scarred, stocky, but short man coming toward him with a large knife pulled. As their gazes locked, there was an audible clank as Grunt Quintero stepped on the pressure plate. What happened next was horrifying for the Venezuelan mercenary. Before he could react, a large set of spikes came down from the ceiling and impaled him through the shoulder and hip. He was held in place as the spikes were caught by something in the floor and locked in place. His Bowie knife did not leave his hand, not while he was conscious anyway. Breathing became difficult and his vision blurred as Ricardo Silva disappeared from his sight. Then darkness enveloped him. Mr. McElroy is inventorying his treasure as Charlie the Cheesehead returns with the bad news.
Sir, the girl got away and one of our men is horribly injured.
Charlie knew the order of importance of information, having dealt with Mr. McElroy so long.
And what of Ricardo Silva?
His eyes were wide with anger.
He appears to have gotten away as well. Did he now?